moment in the life of an old alien veteran who had spent many years traveling across different planets. He had seen many worlds grow, fall, and change with time. He had also met many different species, each with their own habits, strengths, and weaknesses. But out of all the places he had visited, one world stayed in his memory more than the other's Earth. For him, Earth was not just another planet. It was a place that left a deep mark on his thoughts, something he never forgot even after retiring from all duties. He had first seen Earth during a peaceful exploration mission many years ago. At that time, the planet was not part of the wider galaxy. Most alien civilizations did not even bother mentioning humans. They believed humans were far too undeveloped and too emotional to be taken seriously. Some even laughed whenever Earth was brought up in meetings. They saw humans as a noisy, unpredictable group that acted more on feelings than logic. But the veteran had seen something different, something powerful that others failed to recognize. When he visited Earth, his mission was simple. He only had to observe the planet's environment, understand the way humans lived, and report back. There was no conflict, no threat, no tension. It was supposed to be one of the easiest tasks he had ever been given. But during the few months he stayed near Earth, he witnessed events that changed his view of the species forever. The first thing that surprised him was human resilience. He remembered one particular incident, a major storm that hit a coastal area. He had watched it from above, expecting chaos and helplessness. Instead, he saw people rushing out to help strangers. Boats went into the rising waters to rescue families. Groups carried food, blankets, and supplies to anyone who needed them. Some people formed long chains with their hands to hold each other steady while pulling others to safety. It was a level of unity he rarely saw in the galaxy. He also noticed something else: humans never simply accepted defeat. Even when the storm destroyed entire neighborhoods, people came back the next day with tools, equipment, and a determination to rebuild. They worked together, cried together, laughed together, and pushed forward as if giving up was not even an option. It made the veteran pause and think about everything he had been taught. The galaxy often judged humans by their lack of advanced technology or their emotional nature. But here he saw something machines and logic could not create: a deep, stubborn spirit. After the storm, he continued observing Earth from a distance, and his respect for humans grew even more. He watched a group of volunteers spend days searching for missing people in rough terrain. He saw a small community open their doors to travelers with no place to stay. He saw people from different backgrounds sit together and fix problems without caring about differences. Humans argued, yes. They disagreed, yes. But when something serious happened, they united in ways that surprised him again and again. He reported all this to the Galactic Council once he returned. He explained how humans worked together under pressure, how they adapted quickly, and how they supported each other during hard times. He told them humanity had a strength that other species did not fully understand, a strength that came from their hearts more than their technology. But instead of listening, many council members laughed. Some called his reports exaggerated. Others said he had grown too soft in his older age. They brushed off his warnings and said humans were no different from any other young species trying to find its place. The veteran tried again. He shared detailed recordings, showed examples, and explained that humans should not be judged only by their machines. But the council did not think humans could ever be a threat or even an equal. They saw Earth as a small world with limited resources and limited influence. They believed humans were unpredictable because they were emotional, and therefore not worth taking seriously. During one council meeting, a group of young officials openly mocked the idea that humans could ever stand against any advanced civilization. They made jokes, laughed, and dismissed everything the veteran said. He sat quietly, watching their confidence. He knew they were making a mistake. He knew humans were not what they assumed. But he also knew he could not force them to understand. So he simply repeated his final warning: do not underestimate a species that rises stronger every time it falls. But the words were met with more amused smiles. After that, the matter was closed. The council decided Earth was harmless. They placed no priority on building a peaceful relationship and no effort into understanding the humans properly. They assumed Earth would accept whatever was demanded of them. But deep inside, the veteran felt uneasy. Something in his instincts told him that ignoring Earth's true nature would lead to trouble one day. He could not explain it logically, but he had seen enough to trust the feeling. A few months later, the council suddenly became interested in Earth again, not because of its people, but because of its natural resources. A group of powerful council members proposed sending a fleet to encourage Earth to cooperate with galactic rules. They argued it would be easy. They believed humans would be intimidated and agreed to everything without resistance. The veteran was present in the room when the plan was announced. He felt a heavy pressure in his chest. He knew this would not end the way they expected. He stood up and reminded them of everything he had explained earlier. He repeated the humans were not weak. He described how quickly they adapted under pressure, how they protected their families and communities, and how they pushed back even when the situation seemed hopeless. He said humans were not a species that surrendered easily. But once again, the council treated his words as unnecessary caution. One official even told him he was letting emotions cloud his judgment, which was ironic, considering their own lack of understanding about human emotions. With no other choice, the veteran stepped aside. He watched silently as the preparations for the fleet continued. He felt like a spectator watching a slow-moving problem that no one else recognized. He knew humans would not sit still if threatened. He knew they would unite faster than the galaxy expected. And he knew the council would regret laughing once they finally understood the spirit of the people. He had tried to warn them about Dot. As the day of departure came closer, the veteran felt the same uneasy feeling again. It was the same instinct he had learned to trust during his years on the front lines, an instinct that told him something was coming, something big, something the galaxy was not ready for. He looked out at the stars toward the small blue planet far away. He remembered the humans helping each other in the storm, lifting each other through hardship, and rebuilding with determination. He thought of their courage, their unity, their heart. And once again, he whispered the warning no one had listened to. You should not underestimate them. He knew the council believed they were in control. He knew they thought they understood everything. But deep inside, the veteran understood something they didn't. The humans were not dangerous because they wanted conflict. They were strong because they protected what mattered to them. And once the council realized this truth, it would already be too late. This was how the first part of the story truly began, not with weapons or battles, but with a warning that echoed in silence across the galaxy, waiting for the galaxy. Day when everyone would finally understand what the veteran had seen long before the war even began. Galactic Council, gathering in a tall, bright hall where decisions about entire worlds were made. The room was full of confidence, loud voices, and people who believed they understood every corner of the galaxy. They talked about Earth as if it were just another small world that would quietly follow their orders. To them, the planet was nothing more than a source of resources easy to pressure, easy to control, and easy to influence. Many of them had never even seen Earth, yet they spoke about humans as if they knew everything. Plans were being finalized to send a fleet that would simply remind Earth of its place. It was not meant to be a war. The council thought just the sight of advanced ships would scare Earth into handing over whatever the galaxy wanted. That was the whole strategy: intimidation, nothing more. Whenever someone questioned if this approach was too aggressive, the answer was always the same: humans won't dare resist. The old veteran sat in a corner of the room listening. He no longer argued. He had spoken many times, warned them many times, shown evidence, told stories, everything he could. But once a group made up its mind, words no longer mattered. He could only watch as the council underestimated humanity again and again. Inside, he replayed memories of Earth families rebuilding homes after storms, groups forming human chains to rescue strangers, people returning stronger after every setback. He remembered how quickly humans adapted, how fast they shared information, how naturally they worked together when danger arrived. These were not signs of weakness. They were signs of a strength the Council still refused to see. When the fleet finally left for Earth, there was a sense of pride across the Council. They believed they were in full control. The ships glided through space, confident and calm, carrying officers who expected nothing more than a quiet submission from a primitive planet. What they didn't know was that Earth was nothing like the reports they read. Meanwhile, far away on that small blue planet, life continued in its usual way. People went to work, children laughed on their way to school, and families made dinner as the sun set. No one knew what was coming, but Earth had always been a place where unexpected news spread quickly. When the first signs of something unusual appeared in the sky, strange signals, faint shadows, unknown movement, scientists around the world reacted immediately. Human scientists were curious by nature. They did not panic. They investigated. They studied the signals, compared data, and stayed awake through the night to understand what was approaching. Within hours, governments were informed. Within more hours, emergency meetings were held. And within a single day, the entire world knew something was coming toward Earth. This speed shocked even the veteran, who remembered watching humans before. What he admired most was how humans, despite their differences, could suddenly work like one body when needed. Scientists shared information across countries without hesitation. Engineers backed them up. Medical teams prepared quietly. Technology experts offered every skill they had. No chaos, no fighting over who was in charge, just quick, natural cooperation. The Galactic Council expected humans to be frightened. They expected confusion and surrender. But humans did something the Council did not predict. They prepared. Earth's people had faced many things before: disasters, conflicts, pandemics, shortages, and challenges that tested their patience and courage. Every struggle had taught them something new. Every difficulty had shaped them into a species that didn't freeze when danger came. Instead, they moved. They talked. They planned. As Earth began uniting, the veteran watched from afar, knowing every part of this behavior would continue surprising the Council. He had seen this pattern during his earlier visit, the way humans could shift from normal life to full readiness within hours. Across Earth, pilots offered to help. Engineers looked at the sky with determination. People who had never met before gathered online, in offices, and in emergency centers to share what they knew. Even ordinary citizens, people with no special training, stepped forward offering whatever they could transport: supplies, skills, tools, or simply extra hands. Humanity had something many advanced civilizations lacked: a natural instinct to unite in crisis, without waiting for orders from above. It wasn't perfect, but it was powerful. As the fleet approached Earth, a quiet tension spread through the planet. Not fear focus. People wanted to protect their homes, their families, and the place they called theirs. Even those who disagreed on everything else found common ground in moments like this. Across cities and towns, lights stayed on late into the night as groups worked tirelessly. Machines were checked, communication lines repaired, and rescue teams positioned in every region. The interesting thing was, this Earth didn't look hostile. It didn't look violent. It looked prepared. From orbit, the alien fleet saw cities glowing with coordinated patterns, vehicles moving with purpose, and communication networks buzzing with energy. It wasn't chaos at all. It was organization. It was teamwork. It was unity. Some of the fleet officers felt something they didn't expect out. The veteran, watching the situation on galactic screens, could see that the officers were confused. This wasn't the frightened reaction they had been told to expect. Earth didn't look like a helpless world waiting for orders. It looked like a species ready to face whatever came. The fleet tried sending messages, but Earth responded clearly, calmly, and firmly. They asked who the visitors were, what their intentions were, and why they had approached without permission. The messages were polite but strong. This alone surprised many of the alien commanders, who assumed humans would speak nervously or emotionally. Instead, Earth spoke with confidence. In the Galactic Council chamber, officials waited for updates. When they learned Earth's response, they were confused. Some even grew irritated. They expected fear, but they received strength. And then came the moment that changed everything. A small miscommunication occurred. A warning signal from one of the alien ships was misinterpreted. Instead of appearing harmless, it flashed across Earth's sky like a threat. No one was hurt and nothing was damaged, but it was enough to shift global thinking instantly. Humans did not scream. They did not panic. They did not beg. They acted. Within minutes, Earth's emergency systems activated. Teams moved. Plans executed. Responses were launched, not attacks, but defense and coordination. Medical personnel waited on standby, rescue units pre-positioned, and pilots took their stations. People who had been at home moments before now stepped outside to help neighbors. Cities began organizing shelters, transport, and communication hubs. To the alien fleet, watching from above, it was unbelievable. These were the same humans they had laughed at? These were the same people they had called weak? But the most surprising thing was the atmosphere on Earth. Even with tension rising, people remained calm. They reassured children, checked on elders, cooked food, spread information responsibly, and supported each other in quiet, meaningful ways. The veteran felt a small sense of pride as he watched Earth respond like this. He remembered what he had told the Council long ago, that humans might look emotional, but their emotions gave them a kind of strength no one else could understand. The more pressure they felt, the stronger their unity became. The Council, still unaware of the full situation, laughed when they first heard Earth's firm reply. But as more updates arrived, and as they saw the organized glow of Earth from orbit, their expressions began changing. Their amusement slowly faded. Their confidence began cracking. It was the first time they realized their assumptions might be wrong. Earth was not intimidated. Earth was not disorganized. Earth was not begging for mercy. Earth was standing. Together. This was only the beginning of what the galaxy would soon witness. The alien fleet drifting quietly above Earth, their lights reflecting off the blue oceans far below. From a distance, the planet looked peaceful, almost harmless. But inside every control room of the fleet, there was a growing sense that something was not right. The humans were not reacting the way the Council expected. There was no panic, no confusion, no signs of a species ready to surrender. Instead, Earth looked awake, focused, and strangely prepared. On Earth, the atmosphere was steady but alert. People gathered around screens, radios, and phones, trying to understand what the lights in the sky meant. No one used loud voices. No one spread unnecessary fear. Instead, families quietly discussed where to go if they needed safety. Workers offered to stay on longer shifts. Volunteers organized transportation, food supplies, and first aid in case things got worse. Even children sensed something serious was happening. Yet their parents and elders kept them calm with gentle voices and reassuring words. The alien fleet tried sending another message, but their technology created a signal that Earth systems misread. What was meant to be a harmless communication appeared as a sudden bright flash across the skyloud, sharp and attention-grabbing. It didn't harm anything, but it was enough to shift the situation instantly. Humans all over the world paused. For a moment, everything was quiet. Then, without chaos, Earth responded with surprising coordination. Emergency centers activated. Groups that had already been preparing stepped into their roles. Medical teams moved to their stations. Pilots were placed on standby. Scientists gathered in front of large screens, analyzing the strange flash. Leaders communicated with each other across continents in real time. The world moved quickly, not in fear, but in readiness. From above, the alien commanders watched this unfold with growing confusion. They had been told humans were slow to react, easily frightened, and unable to work together. But what they saw was the opposite. The humans were acting as if they had trained for this moment their entire lives. They were calm and controlled, yet determined to protect their planet. The alien veteran, watching from afar, felt the familiar pull in his chest. It wasn't fear. It was recognition. He had seen this version of humanity before, during disasters, during crises, during moments where everything seemed impossible. Humans did not crumble in such moments. They sharpened. They focused. They found a way. On Earth, the first small aircraft took off, not for attack, but for observation. Pilots wanted to see what the objects in the sky were. They moved carefully, avoiding any sudden or threatening action. Still, their presence near the alien ships surprised the fleet. These were not advanced aircraft, but they were flown with skill and bravery that made the alien officers pause. The commanders expected the humans to stay grounded. Instead, they watched small aircraft fly close enough to get visuals, then return safely with information for their people. The pilots risked nothing unnecessary, but they didn't avoid responsibility either. They simply did what needed to be done. Meanwhile, rescue teams on Earth practiced evacuation drills. Communities organized supplies. People who had nothing to do with government or defense offered their tools, skills, and time. One person brought extra blankets. Another gathered bottled water. Someone else made lists of people who might need help. It didn't matter where they lived or what their job was. Humans were stepping forward in their own small ways, creating a network of support stronger than any machine. The alien fleet finally realized Earth was not reacting like a frightened planet. It was reacting like a family protecting its home. Inside one of the alien control rooms, silence grew heavier. Officers stared at the screens showing Earth's activity. They watched as humans moved equipment, communicated across long distances, and checked on each other with remarkable speed. Some officers began exchanging uncertain glances. They didn't want to admit it, but they could see the veterans' warnings coming true. Earth's voice returned to the fleet, clearer this time. The message was simple: identify yourselves, state your purpose, and respect the boundaries of the planet. The tone was not aggressive. It was steady, confident, and unwilling to accept intimidation. The fleet hadn't expected this tone. They had rehearsed responses for fear, confusion, or surrender, but not for calm strength. The alien commander in charge hesitated. He hadn't planned for a situation where the humans stood firm without hostility. Back on Earth, the people who had been observing the sky began sending information to local officials. Photos, recordings, and data spread quickly from city to city. No one held back. No one acted selfishly. Humans shared everything they knew, building a clearer picture of the situation with every minute. The veteran, watching from a distant station, felt both pride and sorrow. Pride because humans were proving their strength again. Sorrow because he knew the Council would soon realize how wrong they had been, and that realization would not come gently as tension continued growing in the sky. Humans kept showing qualities that surprised the alien fleet. A group of engineers worked together on a communication system to improve clarity with the visitors. They did not want misunderstandings. They wanted peace if possible. They wanted dialogue. Meanwhile, farmers, teachers, drivers, students, and workers in every field checked on their loved ones and neighbors. People stood at their windows or rooftops, watching the sky with concern but not panic. The earth felt strangely united. For once, the entire world focused on the same thing, the unknown lights above them. The alien commander instructed one ship to reposition slightly. It was a simple movement, but to humans watching from below, it felt like a shift that could signal danger. Human observers sent updates instantly. Yet, instead of reacting recklessly, Earth responded carefully. Every action was measured. Every decision was thought through. They didn't want conflict, but they refused to show weakness. The alien commanders, who had spent weeks laughing at humans, felt something they had never expected: respect. It wasn't because humans had better weapons or advanced ships. It was because of the way they handled the moment. They didn't run. They didn't scream. They didn't break apart. They stood together. The tension in the sky grew thick, like two sides waiting to see who would move first. No battle began, but the weight of misunderstanding hung in the air. The veteran knew exactly what was coming. He knew humans would act with courage if pushed. He also knew the fleet was not prepared for the kind of strength Earth possessed, not strength of weapons, but strength of unity that the moment stretched longer and longer. A feeling of suspense settled across the entire planet and the ships above it. Humans looked up at the sky, hoping for peace but ready for whatever came next. The alien fleet looked down at Earth, realizing they had made a mistake in assuming this species was weak. Neither side fired anything. Neither side attacked. But the invisible line between them became firm, and the galaxy quietly held its breath. It was in this stillness that the fleet began to understand what the veteran had tried to say all along. Earth was not a planet that surrendered. Earth was a planet that stood. And though the true conflict had not begun yet, the galaxy had already taken its first step toward a lesson it would never forget. With a strange kind of silence, the kind that doesn't feel peaceful but heavy, like the air is waiting for something, the alien fleet and Earth were locked in a moment where each side watched the other carefully. Neither wanted trouble, but neither was willing to step back. It was like two people standing face to face, both trying to understand if the other came as a friend or something else. On Earth, the news channels continued running live updates. People stayed glued to screens, not out of fear, but because they wanted to know every small detail. Families sat together, some holding hands, some whispering quiet prayers, while others simply waited to see how things would unfold. There was a mixture of concern and determination in the air, but not panic. The world leaders spoke again, sending clear messages to the fleet above. Their tone did not shake. Their words did not show weakness. They asked for proper communication, respect for Earth's boundaries, and transparency about why the fleet had come. The wording was chosen carefully. Humans didn't want to provoke anything, but they wanted to make it absolutely clear that Earth was not a place that bowed reason. Up in the alien fleet, the commander paced slowly in the main control room. He had expected this mission to be simple. He had imagined Earth would panic, surrender, and do anything asked of them. But what he was seeing now challenged every assumption he had ever held. He watched as Earth organized itself better than many advanced civilizations ever did. Why do they not panic? One of his officers finally asked. The commander had no answer. He could only stare at the screens showing Earth, a planet full of people who looked fragile, but behaved like something entirely different. In another part of the galaxy. The old veteran watched the events unfold with quiet eyes. He had warned everyone. He had told them humans were different. not because of their machines or their technology, but because of their hearts. He could feel that same instinctive certainty rising again, telling him that the Council had pushed Earth into a moment it was not prepared for. Back on Earth, the scientists continued working nonstop. They studied the fleet's movement patterns, the brightness of the lights, the type of energy being used, and even the formation of the ships. Every small detail mattered. They weren't trying to find weaknesses or ways to fight. They were trying to understand, to avoid mistakes, to prevent anything from turning worse. The scientists passed their findings to the engineers and analysts. The engineers then suggested ways to send clearer messages back to the fleet. They were working with determination, as though a clock was ticking above their heads. No one sat back. No one gave up. Everyone felt a responsibility, not just to their own country, but to the entire world. One thing surprised the aliens the most: Earth's communication. Humans spoke in one voice, with one message from all sides of the world. No arguments, no conflicting statements, no confusion. Just unity. It was something rare, even in the galaxy. Meanwhile, ordinary people continued to show their unique strength. Some offered their homes to others who lived alone, so they wouldn't feel scared. Others cooked meals and delivered them to elderly neighbors. Volunteers stood at hospitals ready to help if anything went wrong. Even simple things, like someone sending comforting messages or sharing food, added to the powerful atmosphere of human togetherness. It seemed as if the entire planet had suddenly remembered that they were one family. The alien commander was not prepared for this. He had studied Earth's political divisions, social arguments, and differences. He expected the humans to fight among themselves. Instead, the humans did the opposite. Their disagreements disappeared. Replaced with unity stronger than any fleet. The commander sent a message to the Galactic Council asking for additional instructions. But what he received was silence at first. The council members themselves were now gathered in a worried meeting. They had been expecting the fleet to return quickly with Earth's agreement. They did not expect the situation to freeze in a tense standoff. The veteran stood in the back of the council chamber, leaning on his walking stick, watching the same people who had once laughed at his warnings, now sitting with concern on their faces. Some council members spoke in hushed voices. Others stared at the holographic screens, showing Earth's coordinated response. No one laughed now. "Is this the human spirit you spoke of?" One council member finally asked the veteran, her voice quieter than usual. The veteran nodded slowly. "This is only the beginning." On Earth, as night fell across one side of the planet and morning broke on the other, the atmosphere remained the same. People slept in shifts. Teams continued working. The sky was watched constantly. Every small movement from the alien fleet was recorded and studied. The humans refused to be caught off guard. A group of young technicians at an observatory in South America worked through the entire night, adjusting signals and trying to strengthen clarity in the communication line. When they finally managed to decode a part of the fleet's signal correctly, they cheered softly, not loudly, as if they didn't want to disrupt the seriousness of the moment. Meanwhile, in a small coastal town, fishermen gathered near the water and talked about what was happening. They didn't have advanced knowledge, but they had calmness. They reassured each other, saying that humans had been through difficult times before, and they had always found a way forward. Some of them told stories passed down from older generations about surviving storms, rebuilding after disasters, and helping strangers in tough times. These stories gave them strength, and word of them spread from person to person. City to city, everyone on Earth had their own way of staying strong. The alien commander decided to send a small, non-threatening probe toward Earth, hoping to establish a bridge for communication without scaring anyone. The probe moved slowly, glowing in a soft, harmless blue light. Scientists on Earth detected it immediately. Instead of shooting at it or reacting aggressively, they began sending clear instructions to help the probe land safely. This single moment surprised the fleet more than anything else. Humans helping an alien probe land without knowing who sent it or why. It wasn't foolishness. It was openness, curiosity, and a desire to prevent misunderstandings. When the probe landed, a team of Earth scientists carefully approached it. They wore protective gear, not out of fear, but out of responsibility. They communicated every move they made back to their teams so that nothing happened without full transparency. The alien commander watched the live footage from the probe's camera. He could see the humans cautious but gentle. He saw them study the device with care, not anger. They treated it with respect. That moment made something inside the commander shift. He realized that whatever the Council believed about humans was far from the truth. In the Galactic Council Hall, the veteran stepped forward and finally spoke after hours of silence. "Now you see why I warned you," he said softly. "Humans don't seek trouble, but they don't step back either. They stand, they unite, and they face things together." The council members said nothing. Their pride was slowly melting under the weight of the truth. They began to understand that Earth was not just another lesser planet. It was a world filled with people who had built their strength not from machines, but from countless moments of standing together in hardship. Back above Earth, the alien commander took a deep breath. He had a choice. He could continue with the Council's plan, or he could take a step that would change everything. He chose to speak. He sent a message to Earth, not a threat. Not a demand, but a genuine attempt at understanding. He introduced himself calmly, explained the fleet's purpose without arrogance, and apologized for any signals that had been misinterpreted. When Earth received the message, people gathered again. Leaders listened to every word carefully. Scientists analyzed the tone. Ordinary people held their breath. Then Earth responded, respectfully, clearly, and with the same strength as before. The tension began to soften, just a little. The sky still held uncertainty, but it also held a new possibility: dialogue. For the first time since the fleet arrived, there was hope that things might not end badly. That maybe, just maybe, something unexpected could happen. A conversation, understanding, or even peace. But the galaxy was not done testing either side. And the most important part of the story was still waiting ahead. Strange kind of silence. Not the silence of fear, nor the silence that comes after destruction, but the silence that arrives when people finally see the end of something heavy. For weeks, the sky above Earth had carried a tense kind of energy. People woke up every morning, unsure what the next day would bring. But now the alien fleet was no longer moving forward. Their ships, which once hovered boldly over major continents, had started pulling back. At first, it was only a shift in formation. Then they started retreating little by little, like someone who suddenly realizes they stepped too close to a fire they did not understand. Across Earth, people didn't cheer immediately. They just watched with careful eyes. No one wanted to assume victory too early. People had worked too hard, lost sleep for too many nights, and put their hearts into protecting their home. This wasn't the moment for loud celebration. It was a moment for slow breaths, long looks, and quiet conversations. People talked to their families, checked on neighbors, and waited for the final confirmation that the danger was truly leaving their skies. The alien commanders had expected humans to be unpredictable, but they did not expect this kind of calm strength. Even when it became clear the fleet was retreating, humans didn't rush to attack or chase them. No one shouted for revenge. Instead, people focused on safety, repairs, and helping each other. That was something the alien fleet could not understand. A species that fought so fiercely, how could they stop the moment the threat pulled away? The answer was simple. Humans were fighting for protection, not destruction. Up in the Galactic Council, the discussion room was filled with quiet, uneasy voices. The Elder Scout stood at a distance, watching the images on the large holoscreens. Earth's surface showed busy streets, moving rescue vehicles, groups of volunteers cleaning up damaged areas, and teams of engineers working day and night to repair communications and power systems. The Elder Scout watched humans move with a kind of unity the Council rarely saw among their own species. Even during peaceful times, one council member quietly asked him, "Is this what you are trying to warn us about?" The Elder Scout took a deep breath. He didn't sound proud. He sounded tired. "I told you humans are not danger seekers. They do not rise for power. They rise for each other." Another member asked, "But how can they stay so calm after everything that happened?" The Elder Scout answered softly, "Because they are used to rebuilding. Their history is filled with moments when they had to stand up again after falling. They do not give up. They do not let fear break them. They keep moving forward even when everything around them feels impossible." Back on Earth, the moment the alien fleet completely pulled back from orbit, humans didn't respond with any hostile message. Instead, world leaders sent a simple transmission out into space. The message wasn't aggressive or emotional. It simply stated that Earth had no intention to attack, chase, or harm anyone. It said humans only defended their home, and that peace was still possible. When that message reached the Galactic Council, the room fell into a deeper silence. Many leaders there had expected threats or demands. Some expected Earth to ask for compensation or surrender terms. But humans asked for nothing. Nothing except to be left alone in peace. That confused the Council even more. The Elder Scout stepped forward and finally spoke the words he had wanted them to hear from the beginning. Humans do not fight for glory. They fight because they protect what they love. They have families, homes, memories, and dreams. Every part of their world carries meaning for them. They may argue among themselves. They may have many differences. But when danger comes, they unite quicker than any other species I have seen. His words finally hit the Council with a weight they could no longer ignore. For the first time since the beginning of the conflict, they understood how wrong their assumptions had been. They thought humans were weak because humans felt emotions so deeply. But those emotions were the very reason humans could stand so strong. Meanwhile, on Earth, ordinary people were not thinking about the Council or the Elder Scout. They were thinking about their families, their neighbors, and the small things that made life feel normal. People opened shops again. Kids peeked outside to see if they were finally allowed to play. Volunteers carried food to shelters. People hugged each other without needing words. Small signs of everyday life began returning slowly. Like flowers growing after a storm. In many towns, people gathered to help clean up streets. Even strangers were working side by side as if they had known each other for years. A tired technician repaired a power line while a student held a flashlight steady for him. A grocery store owner handed out water bottles without charging anyone. A driver stopped his truck to help an old man cross a road safely. These were not big heroic actions, but they were the small, human things that showed how much people cared. The alien fleet, watching from a distance, observed everything. They expected humans to collapse with exhaustion after the conflict. Instead, they watched a species that knew exactly how to rebuild. The aliens slowly realized this. Humans were not strong because of their technology. They were strong because of their spirit. Days passed, and the Galactic Council finally decided to send an apology message to Earth. It wasn't perfect, and it didn't fix everything, but it was a beginning. They admitted they had acted with arrogance. They admitted they underestimated Earth. They admitted the Elder Scout had tried to warn them. They asked for a peaceful relationship going forward. Earth replied politely but simply. They said peace was possible but wanted time. They needed to recover, to heal, and to regain trust. The message ended with a sentence that echoed deeply across the galaxy. We protect what matters. We do not seek conflict, but we will stand together when it comes. The Elder Scout watched this exchange and felt a quiet sense of relief. Not triumph, just relief. He didn't want to be right about the Council's mistake. He just wanted both sides to understand each other better. Now at least, the galaxy finally saw humans the way he did at night, across Earth. People looked up at the sky. Some looked with relief, some with curiosity, and some with deep reflection. The stars were the same as before, but they felt different now. They reminded everyone that Earth was not alone in the universe. But they also reminded people of how strong they really were, even when they thought they weren't. Families sat together and retold stories of the day the skies had changed. Some laughed. Some cried. Some simply held hands. People spoke about fear, bravery, teamwork, and the moments when they helped strangers. These stories spread quietly across homes, neighborhoods, and cities. Becoming part of Earth's shared memory in the Galactic Council's archives, the Elder Scout's new report was recorded so future generations would learn from it. At the end of his report, he wrote a simple line: "Never judge humans by their size, their tools, or their disagreements. Judge them by how they stand when everything is at risk." Months later, life on Earth went back to normal. The roads were busy, schools were open, and people chased their dreams again. But they carried a new understanding inside them that when the world needed them, they stood together. And that unity was something no fleet, no council, and no outsider could ever take away. And somewhere far away, in the quiet corridor of the Galactic Council, the Elder Scout looked out at the stars and whispered to himself, "Maybe now they finally understand."